Let's talk about those moments. The moments when your child's emotion suddenly erupts, a volcano of frustration over a broken toy, a tidal wave of tears because they didn't get the blue cap, a hurricane of anxiety because of a big event. Parenting is full of these emotional roller coasters, and honestly, they can be just as challenging for us as they are for our kids. It's tough to know what to do, what to say, how to help when your child is in the throes of a big feeling. And it's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to fix it, to make the emotion go away. You might say things like, don't cry, or it's not a big deal, or calm down. But those responses, even if when intention, often backfire. They invalidate the child's feelings and shut down communication. You don't teach them how to manage those emotions. Because here's the truth, big emotions are normal. They are a healthy part of childhood and a healthy part of life. Children don't have the same emotional regulation skills as adults. Their brains are still developing and they are still learning how to navigate those intense feelings. So, our job isn't to eliminate emotions, but to teach our children how to respond to them in healthy ways, to give them tools, coping skills that they can use to ride the wave of emotion rather than getting swept away by it. This isn't about creating perfectly behaved, perpetually calm children. That's an unrealistic and frankly undesirable goal. Emotions are valuable. They tell us about ourselves, about the world, and they connect us to others. We want our children to experience the full spectrum of human emotions. What we do want is to equip them with strategies for managing those emotions effectively, to help them develop emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from challenges, to cope with stress, and to navigate the ups and downs of life with greater ease. And I want to be clear, this is a process. It takes time, patience, and practice for both you and your child. There will be moments of success and there will be setbacks. It's okay if your child struggle with these skills and it's okay if you struggle with them. We all do. We are all learning together. So let's start with our first and arguably most fundamental coping skill, deep breathing. You might be thinking, really? Breathing? That's it. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But don't underestimate the power of this technique. It's like having a secret weapon against those emotional meltdowns, a built-in pause button that can help calm the nervous system and bring a sense of control. Here's why it works. When we experience big emotions like anger, fear, anxiety, even intense excitement, our bodies go into what's called a fight or flight response. This is a primal physiological reaction. Our heart rate increases, our breathing becomes shallow and rapid, our muscles tense up. We are physically primed for action. Deep breathing activates the opposite of the fight or flight response. It triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. It triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming the body down. It's like slowing down a runway train or turning down the heat on a boiling pot. It helps us regain a sense of equilibrium. And the best part, it's so simple. We are going to focus on something called belly breathing, or as I like to call it with my kids, balloon breathing. It's all about using your breath to inflate an imaginary balloon in your tummy. Why don't you try it with me? Get comfortable, you can sit, lie down, stand, whatever feels best. Now, put one hand on your belly. This will help you feel the breath. Ready? Okay, breathe in slowly through your nose. And as you breathe in, imagine you are smelling the best smell ever. Maybe freshly baked cookies or your favorite flower. Really fill up that imaginary balloon in your belly. Feel your hands move outwards. Hold it for just a second. And now breathe out slowly through your mouth, like you are gently blowing out birthday candles or blowing the seed off a dandelion. Feel your belly go back down. Let's do that a few more times. In and out. Nice and slow. In and out. The important thing is you be slow. This isn't about taking short, sharp breaths. The great thing about belly breathing is that you can do it anywhere, anytime. And the more you practice it when you are calm, the easier it is to use when you or your child are feeling those big emotions. There's another fun one you can try, especially if your child likes visuals. It's called box breathing or square breathing. You basically imagine a square and you trace it with your breath. So you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold for 4. And all along you can picture tracing the square. Give it a shot now. Now let's think about some real life situations where deep breathing can be really useful. Imagine your child is getting increasingly frustrated while trying to complete a challenging puzzle. They are starting to get agitated, their voice is rising, and you can see a meltdown brewing. You can say, "Hey, I notice you are getting frustrated. Let's take a few deep breaths together. Remember our balloon breathing? Let's fill up those balloons." Or your child is anxious about an upcoming performance or presentation at school. They are worried about making a mistake, forgetting their lines, or what others will think. You can say, "I know you are feeling anxious, that's okay. Let's do some box breathing to help you calm down." We can trace the square together. Maybe it's bedtime and your child is scared of the dark. You can make deep breathing a part of your bedtime routine, creating a sense of calm and security before they go to sleep. The possibilities are endless. The key is to practice regularly and to make it a readily available tool in your child emotional toolbox. All right, let's explore another powerful coping skill, which is mindfulness. Now, this will get thrown around a lot these days, but what does it actually mean, especially for kids? In simple terms, mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about noticing what's happening around you, both inside you, your thoughts, feelings, sensations, and outside you, what you see, hear, smell, touch, taste. It's about being fully present rather than getting caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. Think of it like this. Imagine you are eating your favorite ice cream cone. Are you really tasting it? Are you noticing the coldness, the sweetness, the creamy texture? Or are you thinking about what you are going to do later or replaying an argument you had with a friend? Mindfulness is about savoring that ice cream, really experiencing it moment by moment. For kids, mindfulness can be a game changer. It helps them develop focus, manage stress, regulate their emotions, and even improve their sleep. It's like giving them an internal anchor that they can hold on to when they are feeling overwhelmed or swept away by the big feelings. And there's this really cool technique that's super easy to do anywhere, anytime. It's called the 5432 senses exercise. Basically, it's about using your senses to bring you back to the present moment. It's like a little scavenger hunt for your senses. So here's how it works. You start by looking around and noticing 5 things you can see. And I mean really see them. Don't just say, "Oh, I see a lamp." Instead, say, "I see a tall silver lamp with a white lampshade, and I can see the light reflecting off the metal." Be specific. Then you move on to touch. Notice 4 things you can feel. Maybe it's the soft fabric of your shirt, the smooth surface of the table, the feeling of your feet on the floor, or even the air on your skin. Really feel those sensations. Next, tune into your hearing. What are the 3 things you can hear? Maybe it's your own breathing, the hum of the air conditioner, birds chirping outside, or cars passing by. Just listen. Then notice 2 things you can smell. Maybe it's the scent of coffee brewing, or the fresh air coming in through an open window, or even the faint smell of your laundry detergent. And finally, what's one thing you can taste? Maybe it's the lingering taste of your breakfast, or a sip of water, or even just the taste in your mouth. The key is to encourage them to be really present with each sense, to fully experience it. This exercise helps to shift their focus away from racing thoughts or overwhelming emotions and ground them in the here and now. It's like hitting the pause button on their internal chatter and bringing their attention back to their body and their surroundings. The beauty of this technique is that it can be adapted to any situation. You can do it while waiting in line at the grocery store, riding in the car, sitting at the dinner table, or even lying in bed at night. Let's think about some specific examples of how you might use mindfulness with your child. Imagine your child is feeling anxious before a school play or a sports game. Their heart is racing, their palms are sweaty, and their minds is filled with what ifs. You can say, hey, let's do our 5 4 3 2 senses. Let's take a moment to grind ourselves and then guide them through the exercise. Or your child is feeling overwhelmed by a messy room. The sheer volume of toys and clothes scattered everywhere might feel paralyzing. You can use mindfulness to break it down. Say, okay, let's just focus on one thing right now. Let's find 5 right things to put away. This makes the task less daunting and helps them focus on the present moment. Maybe your child is feeling angry about being teased at school. Instead of getting caught up in the anger and frustration, you can guide them to focus on their senses. Let's take a deep breath. What are 3 things you can hear right now? What are 2 things you can feel? Or your child can't sleep, they can try the 5 4 3 2 technique. The possibilities are endless, and like deep breathing, the more your child practices mindfulness when they are calm, the easier it will be for them to use it when they are feeling stressed or overwhelmed. Okay, so we've talked about calming the mind with deep breathing and mindfulness. Now, let's talk about calming the body. Because sometimes those big feelings, the anger, the anxiety, the frustrations, they don't just live in our heads, they get stuck in our body too. You might notice your child clenching their fist or their shoulders crimping up to their ears or their jaws tightening. That's tension. It can actually make the big feelings bigger. So we are going to learn a technique called progressive muscle relaxation. Don't let the fancy name scare you. It's really simple and kids often find it fun. It's like a little game you can play with your muscle. The idea is this: we are going to tense up different parts of our body one at a time. Really squeeze them tight and then release. And that feeling of letting go, of relaxing those muscles, can actually help those big feelings losing their grip too. Imagine you're holding a lemon or an orange, a really sour one. Now, I want you to squeeze that lemon in your hand as tight as you possibly can. Squeeze, squeeze again, squeeze again. Imagine you are trying to get every last drop of juice out. Feel that tension in your hand, your arm, maybe even into your shoulder. Hold it, hold it, and now drop the lemon. Let your hand go completely limp and floppy. Shake it out a little. Feel the difference? That's what you are aiming for. Let's try it together. And you can do this with your child. First, find a comfy spot. You can sit in a chair, lie down on the floor, whatever feels good. Now, let's start with our hands. Make fist like you're holding those lemons again. Squeeze them really tight. Tighter. Hold it. And now release. Let your hands go completely loose. Feel the tension just melting away. Next, let's do our arms. Bend your elbows and make your arm muscle really hard, like you are showing off your superhero strength. Tense them up, hold it, hold it, and now release. Let your arm just dangle. Now let's crunch up our shoulder all the way up to our ears, like we are trying to hide our necks. Hold them there, tight, 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 and now drop them. Let them fall down nice and loose. You can even do your face. Scrunch up your whole face like you just smell something really stinky. Squeeze your eyes shut. Wrinkle your nose. Make a funny face. Hold it. And now relax. Let your face go smooth and soft. We can do our tummies too. Tighten your tummy muscles like you are bracing for someone to poke you. Hold it. Hold it. And release. Let your belly go soft. And finally, let's do our legs and feet. Point your toes really hard like you are trying to reach something far away. Tense up all the muscles in your legs. Hold it and now relax. Let your legs and feet go floppy. You can even curl and uncurl your toes. See how that feels? It's like we are teaching our bodies the difference between being tense and being relaxed. And the more we practice that, the better we get at noticing when we are holding on to tension, and the easier it becomes to let it go. You do not have to do all parts, you can do a selected few. And you can make this fun. You can pretend you are robots that are powering up and then powering down. Use your imagination. Now, this isn't just a silly game. It can be really helpful when your child is feeling overwhelmed by big emotions. Imagine your child is super anxious before bedtime, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. You can guide them through this, starting with their toes, working your way up. It can help calm their body and quiet their mind. Or maybe they are furious after an argument with their sibling. You can say, hey, I see your fists are clenched. Let's try squeezing and relaxing our muscles to let go of some of that anger. Or they are nervous about a test at school. A quick run through of this can help them release some of that tension and feel a little more grounded. The key is to practice when they are not upset too. Make it a regular part of your routine, maybe before bed or after school. The more they practice, the easier it will be for them to use this skill when they really need it. It's like any other skill, the more you practice, the better you get. And it's not about being perfect, it's about learning to listen to your body and finding ways to help it feel better. So give it a try and see how it works for you and your child. We've talked about helping kids manage those big outward expressions of emotion, the tantrums, the mess dance. But there is a whole internal world going on too. And that's where positive self talk comes in. It's like being your own inner coach, your own cheerleader instead of your own worst critic. Now, I'm not talking about some magical thinking where you just pretend everything is sunshine and rainbows all the time. That's not real life. Kids and adults have negative thoughts and feelings. It's part of being human, and sometimes things are genuinely tough. What I'm talking about is basically the way we talk to ourselves inside our heads. That little voice that comments on everything we do, everything that happens to us, that's our self talk. And it can be surprisingly influential. Think about it like this. Imagine you have two friends. Think about it like this. Imagine you have two friends. One is frankly a bit of a downer. They're always pointing out your mistakes, telling you you are not good enough, reminding you of all the things you have messed up. The other friends, though, they are your cheerleader. They are encouraging. They believe in you. They remind you of your strength even when you are feeling down. Which friend would you rather hang out with? Our inner voice can be either of those friends. It can be that harsh critic, constantly whispering doubt and criticism, telling us we are not smart enough, not strong enough, not good enough. Or it can be that supportive coach, reminding us of our capabilities, encouraging us to keep trying, and helping us see challenges as opportunities, not roadblocks. And here's the really important part. Those thoughts, that inner voice, it directly impacts how we feel and how we behave. Remember that feelings, thought, behaviors connection we talk about? Positive self talk is about intentionally changing the thought part of that equation. Imagine a kid who is constantly telling themselves, I'm terrible at math, I will never get this. That thought is going to make them feel discouraged, frustrated, maybe even hopeless. And those feelings are probably going to lead them to give up, avoid math problems, or even act out in class. But what if that same child could learn to say, okay, this math problem is tough, but I can figure it out. Maybe I'll ask the teacher for help or work on it with a friend. See the difference? That's a much more empowering thought, and it's likely to lead to much more positive feelings and behaviors. So, how do we actually teach this to our kids? It's not like we can just flip a switch and magically change their inner voice. It starts with helping them become aware of those negative thoughts. Because honestly, a lot of the time, that negative self talk is happening on autopilot. It's just background noise, and they might not even realize it's there. So you can start by encouraging them to pay attention to their feelings. When they are feeling down or frustrated or anxious, ask them, what are you saying to yourself right now? What's that little voice in your head telling you? And be prepared. They might be surprised by what they discover. They might be saying things to themselves that they will never say to a friend. Things like, I'm so dumb, or nobody likes me, or I always mess everything up. Once they identify the negative thought, the next step is to help them reframe it to find a more positive or at least a more realistic and helpful way of looking at the situation. It's not about turning every negative into a sugary sweet positive. It's about finding a more balanced perspective. So, for example, if the negative thought is, I'm so stupid, I will never understand this, the reframe thought might be, This is challenging, but I'm capable of learning. I will break it down into smaller steps and I'll ask for help if I need it. Or if the negative thought is nobody wants to play with me, the refrain thought might be it's okay if some kids don't want to play with me. I will find someone else who share my interest. And it can help to have some go-to positive self-talk phrases that they can use. Things like I can do this, even if it takes time and effort. I'm strong and I can handle this. It's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are how I learn. I will try my best and that's all anyone can ask. I'm a good friend. I'm getting better at this every day. It's okay to ask for help. Encourage your child to come up with their own phrases too. Things that feel genuine and empowering to them. They can even write them down and keep them somewhere and they like a little reminder. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about facing those problems with a sense of hope and resilience. It's about believing in your ability to cope, to learn, and to grow. Think about real life situations. Your child is nervous about trying out for the school play. That inner voice might be screaming, I'm going to mess up. Everyone will laugh at me. Help them reframe it. It's okay to be nervous. I've practiced my lines and I'm going to do my best. Even if I don't get the part, I'll be proud of myself for trying. Or they get a bad grade on a test. The negative self talk might be, I'm a failure. I will never be good at this subject. Help them reframe it. This test was tough, but it doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means I need to study differently next time. Or maybe ask the teacher for some extra help. It's about shifting from that fixed mindset, I'm just not good at this, to that growth mindset. I can get better at this with practice and effort. And just like with all the other coping skills, we need to model this ourselves. Let your kids hear you using positive self talk when you are facing challenges. Let them see you reframing your own negative thoughts. It's one of the most powerful ways to teach them this incredibly valuable skill because you modeling the action will go a long way. Let's talk about another coping skill that might not seem like a coping skill at first glance, problem solving. You might be thinking, how is problem solving going to help my child manage their emotions? But it's actually a powerful tool, and here's why. Think about it. A lot of times, those giant emotional explosions, the tantrums, the crying fits, the anger, they are not just coming out of nowhere. There's usually a problem underneath. Something isn't going the way your child wants it to. They are facing a challenge. Something isn't going the way your child wants it to. They are facing a challenge they are not sure how to handle, or they are just plain stuck. And that feeling of being stuck, of not having any control, that's what often fuels the emotional fire. It's like imagine you are trying to build a really complicated Lego set and you just can't find that one tiny piece you need. You are searching and searching, getting more and more frustrated, and finally you just want to throw the whole thing across the room. Kids feel that way too, but sometimes they don't have the words or the skills to express it except through those big emotions. So when we teach our kids problem solving skills, we are not just helping them fix whatever is going wrong in that moment. We are actually giving them a powerful tool for managing their emotions. Because when a child feels like they have some control over a situation, when they believe they can do something to make things better, they are way less likely to get completely overwhelmed by their feelings. It's all about empowering them, giving them that sense of, okay, I can handle this, I can figure this out. So, how do we do this? It doesn't have to be complicated. It's really about helping them break down the problem into smaller, more manageable steps. First, you help them figure out what's actually going on. What's the real problem? Sometimes just getting them to name the problem, to put it into words, can help them calm down a little. It's like, okay, I'm not just freaking out for no reason. There's a reason I'm upset. Then instead of jumping in to fix it for them, and I know that's our instinct, right? Ask them, okay, so what are some things you could try? What are some possible solutions? And the key here is to encourage them to come up with multiple ideas, even if some of them seem silly or unrealistic at first. It's about getting them to think creatively, to see that there's often more than one way to approach a situation. Once you've gotten a few ideas, help them think through which one might work best. What do you think will happen if you try that? Is there another option that might work better? And then the big step, let them try it. This is where it's so important to let them know that it's okay if the first solution doesn't work. Problem solving is often about trial and error. It's about experimenting, learning from what doesn't work, and trying again. Let's say your kid is super obsessed because they can't find their favorite stuffed animal. Instead of rushing around and searching for it yourself, you could say, okay, that's a bummer. Let's think, where are some places it might be? And then you can brainstorm together. Could it be in your bed, under the couch? Did you have it in the car? Did you take it with you when we went out? And then they can start checking those places one by one. Or maybe they are fighting with a friend over a toy. Instead of just saying share, you could say, okay, I see you are both upset. What's going on? And then once they explained, hopefully, you can guide them. What are some things you could do? Could you take turns? Could you find another toy to play with? Could you play with it together? And it could be homework struggles. They don't understand, you can say, okay, let's break it down. What are some possible solutions? The point is, you are making problem solving a habit. You are turning it to a go to strategy whenever your child is facing a challenge, big or small. And by doing that, you are not just helping them solve the problem at hand, you are teaching them a skill that will help them manage their emotions, build their confidence, and become more resilient in the face of anything life throws their way. It's really a gift you are giving them. Now, let's talk about creating a tangible resource to help your child manage those big emotions, a calm down corner or a calm down toolkit. Think of it as a designated safe space, a little haven where your child can go to self regulate, to practice their coping skills, and to find a sense of calm when they are feeling overwhelmed. It's important to emphasize that this is not a punishment, it's not a timeout soon, it's not a place where you send your child when they are misbehaving. It's the opposite of that. It's a resource, a tool they can use to help themselves manage their emotions. It's a place where they can feel safe, secure, and in control. So, what exactly is a calm down corner? It can be any designated space in your home, a corner of a room, a cozy nook under the stairs, a tent set up in the living room, even just a comfy chair with a soft blanket. The key is that it's a space that feels safe, comfortable, and inviting to your child. And what goes on in the calm down corner? That's where the toolkit comes in. This is a collection of items that your child can use to help them calm down and regulate their emotions. The specific items will vary depending on your child's age, interest, and needs, but the goal is to include things that engage their senses and provide a sense of comfort and security. Here are some ideas to get you started. You might want to include something soft and cuddly, like a favorite stuffed animal, a plush toy, or a cozy blanket. These items can provide a sense of comfort and security, especially for younger children. You can include books. This could be picture books or story books or even calming coloring books. Reading can be a great way to distract from overwhelming emotions and transport your child to another world. Fidget tools can be incredibly helpful for children who tend to get restless or fidgety when they are upset. This could be things like stress balls, squishy toys, texture objects, or even just a smooth stone. The tactile stimulation can help to ground them and release nervous energy. Drawing supplies like crayons, markers, colored pencils, and paper can be a great outlet for creative expression. Drawing can help children process their emotions even if they don't have the words to describe them. Headphones can be a valuable addition, especially for children who are sensitive to noise. They can use them to listen to calming music, guided meditations, or nature sounds. You might also include a small container of bubbles. Blowing bubbles might seem like a simple activity, but it's actually a great mindfulness exercise. It encourages slow, deep breathing, and the art of watching the bubbles float and pop can be very calming. A smooth stone or other comforting object can be a helpful grounded tool. Holding and touching a smooth object can provide a sense of stability and connection to the physical world. The key is to involve your child in creating the calm down corner and toolkit. Let them choose some of the items. Ask them, what makes you feel calm? What helps you feel safe and relaxed? This gives them a sense of ownership and control, and it makes the space more likely to be used effectively. And it doesn't have to be costly. Once you've created the calm down corner or toolkit, explain its purpose to your child. Let them know that it's a safe place they can go to whenever they are feeling overwhelmed, upset, or just need a break. Encourage them to practice using the items in the toolkit before they are actually feeling upset. This will help them become familiar with the resources and more likely to use them when they are needed. Here are some real life examples of how a calm down corner might be used. Now, imagine your child is feeling overwhelmed by a noisy, crowded environment. They might go to their calm down corner, put on their headphones, listen to some calming music, and snuggle with their favorite stuffed animal. Or your child is feeling angry after an argument with a sibling. They might go to their calm down corner, grab their stress ball, and squeeze it repeatedly while taking some deep breaths. Maybe your child is feeling anxious before bedtime. They might go to their calm down corner, read a calming book, and do some progressive muscle relaxation. The calm down corner is a versatile tool that can be adapted to a wide range of situations. It's about providing your child with a safe and supportive space to manage their emotions and develop their self regulation skills. And it's about letting them know they are in a safe space. So let's recap. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about deep breathing, mindfulness, progressive muscle relaxation, positive self talk, problem solving, and creating a calm down corner. These are all valuable tools that can help your child navigate the challenges of life and develop emotional resilience. But remember, this is a journey, not a destination. It takes practice, patience, and consistency. So, my challenge to you this week is to choose one or two of these coping skills to focus on with your child. Don't try to do everything at once. Start small, be consistent, and celebrate your progress. And don't forget to download the coping skill checklist from the resources section of this course. It's a handy reminder of the different techniques we've discussed, and it can be a great starting point for conversations with your child.